Welcome to the Hokie Hoops podcast brought to you by State Farm. I am your host, Pete B. I've got Ed Williams here. Ed, how you doing, man?
Good. Excited to talk some basketball. We got the bye week upon us right now, so a little bit of a lull between Duke and NC State, but we can break down the Duke game and look forward to what's ahead. We got a lot of basketball left to play. It feels like the season's going on for a long time, but we're still only just over halfway through conference slate. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, 10 games into the ACC slate, and we wanted to thank State Farm for being our sponsor for the first half of the season, first 3 quarters of the season. Remember, you can email insurance@sonsofsaturday.com if you want to get connected with one of the Andrews. That's Andrew Evans or Andrew Blevins over at State Farm. They can help you with renter's insurance. If you're a student, that can be extremely important. Auto, home, life insurance, whatever you may need, the Andrews do have you covered. If you just send an email to insurance@sonsofsaturday.com, they will connect you with one of those friendly voices and faces in the Andrews. We thank you for your sponsorship, guys. So the Hokies dropped to 16-7 after their loss to Duke, 5-5 in those 10 ACC games. Currently have the week off. We have a big game against NC State coming up this weekend, but we are off for the week. They moved that game to a nooner, right? So we got another nooner this Saturday.
Yeah, I didn't really see a reason why they did that, but yeah, from 1:30 to noon, still in the CW. So yeah, noon tip off against NC State.
Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. So we lost to Duke, and let's talk about that game first, and then we're going to go through some lineup stuff, a little bit of bubble talk, of course, some Neo talk has to be done every episode, and just the outlook for the rest of ACC play. But in the Duke game, they were so aggressive early on, Ed, that they were getting in passing lanes, they were poking at the ball, their size was a big problem, and they were making all their baskets in the first half. They shot 62% from the field in the first half.
Yeah, they shot 62% on a lot of dunks as well. I mean, they hit a couple threes in the first half, but they were able to get downhill and get to the rim pretty easily. A lot of lobs, just easy finishes around the rim. I felt like we had done a good job of containing Cam Boozer, and then he was like 5 of 6 from the floor in the first half. So I don't know why I felt that way. I guess I was just completely dead wrong because I looked up at halftime and he was like, "Oh, he has 11 on 5 of 6 shooting." I guess we didn't contain him very well. But yeah, absolutely got dominated on the glass. I'm actually surprised looking at it that they only had 12 offensive rebounds. It felt like they had 12 in the second half alone. But yeah,
I agree, man. I thought we were getting killed because some of the second chance points they had were backbreakers. Maybe
yeah,
that's why it felt worse. Hansberry was keeping us in the game with his 3-point shooting, but Duke had it at double digits for a while, as many as 16 points in the first. I think that was still in the first half. And then we closed the half to make it a 9-point deficit. And I felt fortunate to only be down 9 points at halftime. Boozer's size was a problem, as well as his passing, because I kind of had your feeling that we did a decent job on him, but he had a bunch of assists in the game. He is a very skilled passer as well. And so that was part of the problem that it wasn't just defending him, it was defending everybody.
yeah. I mean, this is like super obvious, right? But without Cam Boozer, we win that game. I mean, he was everything for Duke in that game. He had 24, 8, and 5. He was just absolutely fantastic. So, you know, their whole roster is fantastic. Like, they roll out 8 or 9 guys and they're, a bunch of 5 stars and all the talent in the world. But he really is an extraordinary player. We won't play anybody that good the rest of the way. It's him and AJ Dabansa and Darren Peterson at the top of this draft class. It's absolutely loaded. And he is every bit of the player that as advertised, and will be right there in the conversation for going 1-1.
He's one of those freshmen that he's tall, obviously, but he's not lanky, right? It's like you just took a regular sized person and grew them because his whole body is just big. Like it's noticeable on the floor. He's ready to play in the NBA right now. And Duke size in general, like they're a really tall team. They're one of the tallest teams in the country. I guess in the second half, we obviously got it closer. We had it down to like 6 points a couple different times, but we could never make that bad. Once we got down 6, it always seemed like we missed the shot or Duke had an answer, or even in the one instance where Toby gets his hand on the ball and blocks it, they still give them the call. And like, no matter what we did, we couldn't like get out of the mud.
Yeah, we dug such a big hole. It was gonna be hard to climb back out of it. But I thought we played really well, for the most part. But again, shooting has been a problem for Virginia Tech, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it as we go. And I tweeted after the game, it's a we, not a he problem. Like, this shooting is a problem for this team. It's not a specific to Neo problem. He has obviously his demons that he's going through right now. But as a team, we were 27% from three. 4 of our 7 makes were Imani Hansberry. So that's not what you want, right? And early in the year, he had a stretch early in the year where he would shoot him and fans were like, "Oh no, what are you doing?" Well, clearly he can shoot it, but if he's your leading 3-point shooter, you're not going to upset Duke. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. Jalen Bedford 0 for 5, Neo 0 for 4, Lawal 0 for 3. The shooting was a huge problem. It's been a problem in the second half of games pretty frequently. Corey Alexander, right? He was on the call and he said something that was absolutely correct. There was one play, we were down 8. Jaden Shute misses a wide open 3 that would have cut it to 5. They go down on the other end, make a layup. That's a 5-point swing right there. Your lead goes from what could have been 5 to 10, all off of a wide open miss from a career 40+% 3-point shooter. And those were the moments you had to have in this game. Coach Young talked about it in the post game. There were a few different instances where we had a chance to ring the bell and couldn't. And you need those if you're going to beat the number 4 team in the country, who I think is at worst the number 2 or 3 team in the country.
The issues that Duke presents require you to shoot very well to beat them. Unless you're going to match them man for man, athlete for athlete, size for size, you need to shoot well. And we simply didn't do it. Great game from Imani, hitting all those threes. It was the only reason we even had a chance. But you're exactly right. Every time it felt like, okay, this is the moment. We're going to cut it to 3, and we just couldn't do it. And like, you need to have those moments if you're going to get the upset, and they are ridiculous. They might be better than last year's team. We kind of had that debate at some point on Saturday.
It's a question of team versus talent. Last year's team probably had more talent, which is crazy to say because of how much talent this year's team has. But this team plays like a team, and I think that starts with Cam Boozer. And Mike Young was as complimentary of Cam Boozer in the post game as I've ever heard him be of anyone. Just talking about how he plays basketball the right way, and I completely agree. I mean, both ends of the floor, Cam Boozer makes the right play, whether it's calling his own number or distributing to his teammates, or being a step early in a rotation on defense to help somebody out. He does a lot of really, really good things that could take that Duke team very far.
He's the rare child of a star that may be better than the father. Like, it's happened for sure. Like, Steph Curry comes to mind, but usually it's a Bronny James situation where you have this famous father and then the kid is okay, but he's not as good as his dad. Cameron Boozer has every chance to be as good as Carlos Boozer or better in the pros. Now, Carlos Boozer had a good college career, a very good college career. Cameron will not play more than 1 year of college basketball.
Nope.
They outscored us by 22 points in the paint, another emphasis on that size advantage. And they had 16 second chance points to our 6, which is maybe why both of us felt like they got more offensive rebounds than were actually on the sheet, because they scored on a lot of them. Let's talk about Neo in this game, the reaction to Neo in this game. He was 1 of 8 shooting. He led us with 3 turnovers, some costly ones, just 4 rebounds and 4 assists. What did you think of the booing from what I thought it was the student section? I don't think it was the entire stadium, but there was some booing of Neo in this game.
Yeah, it was the student section. I mean, this is it's a hot topic right now, right? I wasn't a fan of it. I didn't like it in the moment. I still don't like it a few days later. I don't think it does you any good. At the time that it happened, I believe it was like an 8-point game with like 8 minutes left, and Neo checks back in the game and is met with some boos from this. It was the student section, I believe. I don't love that. You're still very much in the game at that point. At that point in time, too, Neo was the leading rebounder and leading assister on the team. In this game, he just, again, wasn't shooting the ball well. And that's been a theme now for, I guess, since Cal. So,
Since
the back half of
ACC,
January,
really.
basically. I mean, the Cal game, he was 5 of 10 from the floor. Stanford,
Okay.
he was 7 of 15 from the floor. So, call it SMU, where he was 4 of 12 and then has had a bunch of bad shooting nights ever since then. Now, so, call it the last 6 games, 5 games, whatever that is. He hasn't shot the ball well. I don't know what booing him in that game, in that moment, does. To me, it came across as, I don't know, poor. It was, I just didn't love it. I mean, I'm curious your take on it.
I mean, booing is part of sports. We both recognize that as big sports fans.
Absolutely.
And I think booing is largely a part of professional sports. You don't see it so much in college sports. Sometimes in a college football game, someone said drones got booed this year. Probably. I think when I say professional sports too, people will say, well, they're professionals now. They are being paid, and that is true. But we're kind of still walking a line between they are one of us. They are students at our school. And in this case, it's a freshman student in a foreign country for the first time playing a sport, and he's struggling mentally. You can see it. He's aiming the ball and trying to get it to go in, and it's not going in. And I agree with you, Ed, that like it's only going to hurt to boo this kid. I understand it. He is not as advertised. He has fallen out of the top 78 prospects, according to Tankathon. He's probably dropped into every second round, if not out of most draft boards. That's what's going on. When you shoot 17% from 3 in ACC play, you're going to drop down in the draft boards. And I think, the students a lot of times are not the diehard fans. They go to the games because it's fun and they can scream and have a good time, but they're usually not following the team as closely as a lot of the older people that are in the stands and have been alumni for several years. I'm not saying that some students don't know ball. They absolutely do. But I think to them, it's like, we got a 5-star. He came here. He's supposed to be awesome. And he's shooting us out of this game against Duke, where we kind of have a chance to compete here. And so in the moment, I get it from that perspective of like, why is this guy who's supposed to be good not being good? And so I'm going to boo. I don't think it's a great look for anybody. And I don't think it's going to help, but he's been a pro in Europe. He's being paid. If you want to boo, you're allowed. It's a free country. He needs to work through this personally. And I don't know how well it's going to go this week, but having the week off is probably a very good thing for him.
Well, you saw Justin Robinson tweet it. Justin and I were texting during the game, and he said something similar to what he ended up tweeting to me, and I said, you should probably put that out there, and he did. And it doesn't help. The freshman wall is a real thing. Yes, Neo is a 19-year-old freshman who played professional, but he didn't play a lot of minutes for his professional team. Like, he wasn't playing. You go back to what I have on my screen, I guess, is South Carolina, 35 minutes, 31, 33, 49 against Virginia, 35. He never done this before. This is the most basketball he's ever played. If you notice, I started noticing it in particular around the SMU game. Everything's short, everything's front rim. That, to me, that's a sign of fatigue. Mm-hmm. And that comes with playing more than you've ever played in your life. And guys run into it. It's very common. What's interesting to me about the Neo situation, I'll go back to the booing first, and then I'll dive into more of like the actual basketball stuff. The booing thing, like, I wouldn't do it. I don't love it. Guys, people will say, well, they get paid now, so we can boo them. Well, I don't love that reasoning. I don't think that's sound reasoning. People would boo people before they got paid. And, I just don't think that reasoning stacks up. And we had a student in one of our group chats say, the feeling around campus is all these students aren't like us anymore because they get paid. And, we want results as a result of that. To me, when you say, we we don't feel like them because they're getting paid. I can understand that standpoint. Like, I'm sure it's a weird dynamic. That being said, you're starting out saying you don't like the fact that they're getting paid. So you can't boo them because they're not performing to the level you expect them to because they're getting paid. You've already admitted at that point you just don't like that they have money. So don't be fair weather about it. Like, if you don't like that they're getting paid, fine. But then by that standpoint, you should probably be booing the moment they touch the floor and the ball's in the air. If he was playing well, you wouldn't be booing. So don't use money as a guise for that. Performance and not meeting expectations, I understand. And people did have used, Kyron got booed, and that is a good point. I will counter that with, when the offense walks on a football field and you boo, you're booing the offense.
Yeah.
When the in-game announcer says checking in for the Hokies, Neo of Dallas, and you boo, you're booing Neo of Dallas. You're not booing the offense. Even if you're targeting your boo at Kyron Drones, it ain't going to Kyron Drones. So it's a little different when you're in your home arena and you get announced to check in the game and you get booed. I mean, I have to think about it from, like, I had this thought immediately. Like, James Franklin's in the crowd, right, with 100+ football recruits. It's kind of a tough look. Like, your 5-star, the savior of your basketball program, is checking in the game, and the fan base, the same one that'll cheer for you in Lane Stadium, is booing him. I have to imagine that might have been a tough one for, Pry and Franklin and Howell and them to maybe talk to some guys about, because it's the same fan base in Cassell as in Lane. Am I going to show up here to play football and get booed immediately, halfway through my first season? I don't know. I just don't think it does anything constructive.
I think there's probably some people listening to this show that are like, don't be soft, guys. Like, guys get booed. It's okay to get booed. If you stink, people will let you know about it. And being from Philadelphia, it's been pointed out, like, we are used to it. And a lot of the guys that Franklin's recruiting out of PA probably are used to it. But they're, not being from the Northeast, if you're from Virginia and stuff, it's just not quite the same. Sports in Boston and Philadelphia and New York, professional, is different than a college stadium. And it's not, they are not contracted professionals, men over 25. They are as much as you might not think so, they are your co-eds. They go to the same school as you, the same classes as you, and there should be a little bit of respect paid there.
Yeah.
And it's a tough situation. People get booed, and I'm sure he's been booed in his past and will be booed again. It's just, I agree with you. Like, if you're trying to impress recruits, like, seeing that fan base boo someone is probably like, that's kind of strange.
Yeah, especially in an 8-point game with 8 minutes left against the number 4 team in the country. Yeah, I didn't love the circumstance around it. I understand it. I'm frustrated with it too. Like, every time he puts the ball up in the air, I'm praying for his sake it goes in. And
for real, right?
I'm frustrated with the situation. I wish he was playing better. I'm sure he wishes he was playing better. I just don't find it to be constructive, and I don't love the reasoning of, well, they get paid now so we can boo. To me, that's just kind of disingenuous, and you're either upset about performance or you're upset they're getting paid. You can't be upset about performance through the lens of, well, they also get paid, so I'm mad about that as well.
And it really doesn't have anything to do with the being paid thing at this point, because, like, Jaden Young last year had wretched shooting games, absolutely wretched. I don't remember him ever getting booed. The reason that Neo is getting booed is because of the hype of him coming in.
Yes.
And, like, he was on all these draft boards, and then he goes off against Providence and looks great. And it's kind of hasn't cratered, but it's getting close to cratering here. And that's why. It has nothing to do with him being paid. You don't like him because of expectations have not been met. And
exactly. And I'm cool with that. And that's a perfectly fine fan approach to have. Just don't try to use the lens of, well, they make money now, because I got to be honest with you, by that standpoint, there's guys that are going to be on the football team who are going to make a lot of money to redshirt, or we won't see them play for 3 years.
There's some receivers from a couple years ago.
And there's guys in the past who, there's guys in the past who made a lot of money who did nothing for Virginia Tech. There's guys in the basketball program who make a lot of money who don't do anything. So
outside of Neo, yes.
Yeah. So the money thing is not to me a reason you can be upset with somebody. But the 3-point shooting, we certainly can be, and let's move on to talk about that piece now. The 3-point shooting really all year has not been a strength. I mean, he was good for knocking down 1 or 2 for the most part in the various non-conference games, and even into the beginning part of ACC play. He made 3 against UVA. Granted, he took 11, but he made 3. And then he made 1 against Wake, 1 against Stanford, and then all of a sudden the bottom just fell out. 0 for 3 against Cal, 0 for 7 against SMU, 2 for 3 against Notre Dame, 0 for against Cuse, 0 for against Louisville, made 2 against Georgia Tech, and then 0 for again against Duke. It's pretty shocking. It's pretty jarring. I'll be honest. Like I don't really know how to wrap my head around it, because when you go and look at his field goal percentage, it's not bad. It's literally just the 3-point percentage that's dragging everything else down.
Yeah, he's shooting 30% in ACC play, and that's with the 17% from 3.
Yeah.
So it's definitely dragging it down. Still at 4.7 assists per game, 2.8 turnovers. So he's close to 2-1 in assist to turnover still, and averaging 10 points a game in the ACC. I think his defense has improved marginally, and I think he can still be very valuable to this team. But just the last thing on Neo. You remember when Trey Turner came to Philadelphia and he was terrible for the first half of the season?
I've thought about this all weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. And some fan or some radio station said, like, let's give him a standing ovation. And there's a documentary on Netflix called The Turnaround, and it's about Trey Turner. And Philadelphia fans, known for booing, and they were booing him for quite a long time, all decided on this day, we're going to give him a standing ovation. We're going to cheer for him and see if it can. And his career in Philadelphia has been way different ever since. Maybe we need to do that for Neo at the next home game. I don't know. Sons of Saturday has that power. Potentially we could do something like that. We don't like to police, and we're not. Ed and I are not policing fans in the stands. If you want to boo, go ahead and boo. But a standing O might go a lot farther with Neo than more booing.
Yeah, I mean,
you haven't seen it, the turnaround, the documentary. It's interesting, and it's exactly this situation basically.
I haven't workshopped this take in my head, but it just kind of came to me, because I used to feel this way about on the flip side of it. I used to feel this way about Virginia Tech when we were knocking off a lot of top 10 teams under Buzz and rushing the court a lot. Towards the back half of Buzz's tenure, we got to a point where we were supposed to win those games. Like when UVA comes to town, or Duke, like we're a top 15, top 20 team. Like you beat somebody like that on your own home floor, you don't really need to rush the court, right? Like that, you took care of business that day and did what you should. And I used to always get frustrated with fans, and I was one of them. I was a student back then. I'm like, don't rush the floor. Like we should have won this game, and people they didn't listen to me. Obviously, they just rushed the floor because it's fun. And in this instance, maybe I'm just, old man screaming at the clouds, and I don't understand, what people are feeling. But it's kind of the same. It's kind of similar, kind of different, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, I hadn't really workshopped it, but I felt that way about that on a positive side. Like, hey, like let's expect this. And then on this side of it, it's like, I don't really want us booing our own players on our home floor. It just kind of feels similar to me, where it's like, we really shouldn't be doing that. And then the other side of it was like, we really shouldn't be rushing the court because we should be winning. This is like a negative thing we shouldn't be doing.
Right.
It's just, it's been such a frustrating conversation to have.
I think your point about
the last few days,
him being short, starting at the SMU game. One, there was a lot of scouts in the stands, might have been feeling some pressure, but his shot was coming up short. And we've seen that since as well. And this is more basketball than he's played minutes wise, consecutive weeks wise, maybe ever. And I said this to you guys too, like Malcolm Delaney, we were relying on him so heavily some of the years when he was our star player, that by the time middle of ACC play came, he had no legs left and his percentages would go way, way down. So I think we are seeing a little bit of that with Neo, and maybe the week off will literally help his legs and help his shot.
Oh yeah. I think we were us and Syracuse, the last two to have a open date in the league. So this is pretty late in the year to have an open date. I actually noticed this the other day looking ahead. We have another open date in between Wake and I believe it's North Carolina on the road. So we have 2 in the next couple of weeks, like this one included. I do think it'll help a lot. I think there's a lot of things that Virginia Tech has struggled with recently. I mean, for as much as Neo's struggled, Toby Lawal struggled a lot too. He
Dude,
had 4
4
points
points?
against Duke. So, everybody's kind of, struggling a little bit right now. Having a week off to kind of hit that reset button, get some good rest, get Tyler Johnson integrated back into the fold, which I'm sure we'll talk more about now. But there's a lot of good things for the Hokies right now. And getting to the break at 500 was, all after the SMU game, after losing that heartbreaker, all I wanted was to get to February 500 and get Tyler Johnson back and let the chips fall where they may. And I've said that on here, and they were able to take care of business and get that done. So, it's going to be a really tough home stretch here, but I do think that this break could not have come at a better time for the Hokies.
I agree. And you talked about the shooting for Neo. We talked about all that stuff. The team is just not shooting from the field well.
No.
Like from everywhere, not just for three. We're 207th in the country in field goal percentage. I think there's 365 teams. So we're in the back half of just shooting it. And when you're at a power school, you shouldn't be in the 200s, not a Mike Young squad. And so this might be one of Mike Young's least most talented rosters with regard to touch on the basketball. They're just not a good shooting team.
They're not. And it was something Coach Young was worried about preseason. I mean, you remembered him saying it, he's like, I'm not really sure what kind of shooting team I have. And then, they came out of the gates and they shot the ball pretty well. And since then it's kind of ebbed and flowed. When it's good, it's really good. And when it's bad, it's been really bad. And late in games in particular, it's been really bad. Knocking down jump shots late in games has just not been a strength of this team. And you've had guys at various points in the year get hot. Like Ben Hammond started out really slow, and then he's gotten really hot as of late from three. Amani Hansberry, same thing. Started out slow. He's shooting the ball at a much better rate now. But on the flip side of that, you have Neo obviously having his shooting struggles and regression, but there's nights when Jalen Bedford can't find it, and there's nights when Jaden Schutt doesn't shoot the ball well. So very rarely has the team collectively as a whole shot it well. It's been one or two guys are hot and everybody else is ice cold, and that's a tough way to win games.
And it's one of the reasons our assist numbers are down so much is because we're not finishing the assist. We're not making the shot, and that's why we have 11, 12,
I actually
10 assists in every freaking game.
I said this in the Sons of Saturday chat a few hours ago. It was another discussion about Neo. But if we had an average or slightly above average shooting team, Neo would probably be averaging almost 7 assists per game. His numbers as it stands are at 5, and that's a great clip, right? 5 assists per game, solid. I believe Boopy Miller leads the league at 6. So if we had a couple more guys who can knock down some jump shots at a better rate, Neo would probably be right up there with Boopy for the league lead in assists per game.
Yeah, he would. I also think something with Neo, and when we were in person, you mentioned this maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago. He's a great passer. We know that's one of his skills, is his playmaking ability, moving the ball around. But I do think that he can get better at placing his passes in a more advantageous position for a guy to get a shot. He does a good job of it, but I don't know if you've noticed this with Neo, where when he's passing the ball, I feel like he's trying so hard to do a no look or throw it at a funny angle that sometimes the ball isn't it could be in a better position than it is. And I'm not trying to knock on him for a second thing, because his passing is good. I just think as he gets more comfortable, and maybe if he was shooting better, some of his passes would also be better, which would lead to a better shot, which would lead to more makes.
Something you just said has been something I noticed in particular against Duke. And I think it's been a theme throughout all of these games where he's not finding the 3 ball. When he comes out of the gate and looks great. Against Duke, he came out and was playing well. You'd say what you want about the shooting, but he was playing well. He was rebounding. He was assisting at a high rate. He led the team in fouls drawn. He was doing a lot of really good things. But there's something with late in games in particular where I think when he's not shooting, he just kind of checks out, or then starts to force it. And that's when you see the really bad turnover. So that's been something to monitor. And you just kind of mentioned it, like it just kind of different headspace, like it just kind of goes to a different place. And that's something I'm sure that they're trying to figure out how to fix. It's kind of a hard thing to fix. Like basketball players need to see the ball go through the hoop.
Yep.
And everything else kind of comes with that. And in Neo's case, it might be something where they need to figure out a way to get him to do everything else, and the shooting will come along with it. I want to ask you this question. I mean, I know my answer, but I want to ask you this question. How would you say he has just overall played in ACC play? Just overall, how has he played?
On a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah.
I feel like it's hard because you have to grade him on a curve because he is so talented. But I don't think he's played like a 3. Like I think it's somewhere like around a 6, maybe a 6.5. It's not a completely abysmal because I do think he is contributing to not only like getting guys assists and stuff like that, but he's a big body and he does get in the way. Like I've seen him make some good defensive plays, regardless of what a lot of people on Twitter may say. Like he has been trying on defense and making the occasional good play. I think what you were saying about him getting in his headspace at the end of games when things aren't going well, and then he makes a stupid foul, and then he throws it to the other team, then he throws it out of bounds. Like, do you remember what was the game that we started off super hot? Was that wasn't Wake was bad in the beginning? Maybe
Wake
it was UVA.
awful.
Yeah, but there's been a couple games where he comes out and you're right, like he's just like, okay, he's got it tonight. He's doing well, and then it kind of just goes away. But I'd say like a 6.5 is how he's played in ACC play.
I'd say that's fair. I would maybe have it a touch higher because the tone from the fan base right now is that this guy is playing awful and he's terrible, and of course he's not living up to expectations in terms of putting the ball in the hoop. But when you go back and look, like I'll start at Cal. Well, I could start at Stanford where he had 21 points, but I won't. I'll start at Cal. He had 11 and 6 against Cal, and then he had 10 and 7 against SMU. And in those games, he was 0 for 10 from 3. And he still had 11 and 6 and 10 and 7. His passing, people don't like notice it unless it's like a crazy one-handed 60-foot bomb that threads the needle or an alley-oop. But his passing is special. Even in the game since then, he had 3 assists, 4, 2, 4. The 2 against Georgia Tech, obviously not a very good game, and he didn't play a lot of minutes in that game either as a result. So I agree. I don't think it's as bad. I don't think he's playing as bad as the tone around him currently is. I think he's shooting horrifically, but I think he's playing fine.
Yeah, okay. And that's the thing is like my 6 is not if it's on a curve of what I expected, he's playing at a 4. If you're trying to give it a rating of just an average freshman coming in, he's probably closer to a 7 than he is a 4. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that is the issue because we do expect a lot from him. And we need to talk about some lineups now, Ed. I'm going to add a graphic to the screen because I think it was you that shared some of the best lineups in conference play this year. 5-man lineups. Give me a second while I find this thing.
Yeah, shout out Chris Arvin. He sent me this.
All right, let me get this down. All right, so these are the 10 best 5-man lineups in conference play in college basketball this year. And if you look at number 2 out of the top 10, it is Virginia Tech with Hammond, Shute, Avdalis, Hansberry, and Gerdak. That 5-man lineup has a net rating of 97, which is second best in the country in conference play. It blew my mind when I saw this thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you look like for anyone on podcasts, like I'll just read you the logos on this list. Number 1 is a UConn lineup. Number 2 is the Virginia Tech lineup that Pete just read. 3, Florida. 4, Houston, Carolina, Wisconsin, Baylor, Arizona, Kansas, Nebraska.
It's a lot of good teams.
Yeah, those are all like ranked teams. So these are a collection of some really, really good lineups around the country. Ben Hammond, obviously, He's been one of the best players analytically in the ACC during ACC play, right? He's right behind Cam Boozer going into that Duke game in terms of those numbers that I believe Doug Bowman pulled up. So obviously he's going to be right in the forefront of that. He's been fantastic. Jaden Schutt, I think Jaden Schutt had a really good year. He's shot the ball, as you'd expect Jaden Schutt to shoot the ball, except for like a game or two here or there. He's defended at a much higher rate this year than he has in years prior. So I'm not surprised he's on there as well. Neo, like I said, we just spent, 32 minutes talking about Neo, but does a lot of things really well, even if he's not shooting it well. And, kind of like I went back through that little exercise and just looked at what he's done in some of these ACC games. I mean, 17 against Virginia, 21 against Stanford, 10 against SMU, 11 against Cal. Those were all games where he played really well, and that's about half of the league games we've played so far. So it's not surprising that he's involved in this lineup, not to mention what he does for everyone around him. Amani Hansberry has been a stud, and Christian Gerdak. This is an interesting piece. I think Amani Hansberry has been better this year when Christian Gerdak's on the floor. I think Christian Gerdak playing a more natural and true 5 position has unlocked Amani Hansberry during that time when Toby Lawal was out. How they're going to fix that moving forward will be interesting, because I do think you lose a little bit of the upside with Amani when you have Toby in there next to him versus Gerdak, because then all of a sudden Amani has a lot more of a traditional 5 responsibility attached to him than he does when Gerdak's in the game. And I think Amani Hansberry just eats 4s up in college basketball. There's not many 4s around the country who can guard him. But when you throw a bigger guy at a 5 on him, he can't catch the ball at the top of the key and go downhill at the rim the way he has been able to against a lot of 4s. So I wasn't shocked that was the pairing in the front court. Little surprised that it was, him and Schutt and Neo, but why would I be surprised? Because Tyler Johnson hasn't played. And when you go back to early in the year and you looked at some of these kind of things, like best 3-person lineups, in the ACC at one point at the beginning of the year, it was like Neo Johnson somebody for Virginia Tech. So once Johnson's back, I'll be interested to see if this kind of shifts. But it's pretty crazy to look at the logos and the names on this list with the Virginia Tech 5.
I think going forward, say Johnson is back this week.
Johnson's back.
Okay. If he's back for NC State and going forward, what becomes our best 5? Like what would be the highest on this list if we have everyone available? Is it Hammond, Johnson, Avdalas, Hansberry, Gerdak?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch how this unfolds, because the natural place to slot Johnson in is at the 3, right?
And then push Gerdak out. That's what we had at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning of the year, the starting lineup was Neo, Bedford, Johnson, Lawal, Hansberry. So
Hammond was.
I don't think you.
That's not going to happen.
I don't think you can push Ben Hammond back to the bench. He's been just too good, unless he's on the bench for a minute and a half and comes in the game. Here's the thing:
Schutt's not a starter. Like this lineup. This is based on it's not the starting lineup. This is just the run that had 42 minutes together or whatever that is on the screen. Now, this doesn't include the Duke game, but I don't care. Even if the Duke game was bad for these 5, like this would still be a top 10 unit in the sport.
Yeah, what is it? 74 possessions that this unit has played together this year, which when you look at the rest of the list is about in the middle of the pack in terms of possession numbers. Yeah. My God, look at that Houston one. 131 possessions of that group, and they're 4th. That's pretty impressive.
So freaking
or the Arizona group down there, 195 possessions, and they're the 8th rated lineup in the
They have a favorite 5. That's probably their starting 5. That's the difference for us. And we have had injuries too. And Lawal's not on here. And Lawal was a starter at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So you have Schutt and Gerdak in this 5. And like when Johnson comes back, and you should be starting Lawal, at least you were before. I don't know. You'll have options. Now, Johnson, to me, he does fit the mold of like a really good 6th man, but he's so good. Like Schutt's still going to be coming off the bench.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. And I've, on a scratch piece of paper gone through a bunch of different lineups and tried to think of what I would do. And honestly, what I would do probably is put Ben Hammond back on the bench, but I know that that's not going to be a popular take.
You're
And
trying to get the yeah.
I only say that because at the beginning of the year when Tyler Johnson was on the floor and it was Johnson, Bedford, Neo as the wings, call it, or whatever you want to call them. Neo was playing really good with Tyler Johnson on the floor, and Tyler Johnson was shooting the ball at a really high rate
He was.
with Neo as the primary ball handler and running the show. You know what you're going to get from Ben Hammond, whether he's off the bench or in the starting lineup. It doesn't matter to him. Like he produces at an extremely high rate regardless. So I think you can almost it's such an embarrassment of riches with him because you can just throw him on the floor and he could play. He might miss the first 2 minutes of the game and then play the other 38, and it won't make a difference in his overall output. So I just think maybe they go with that because you know what you're getting with Ben Hammond off the bench, and you don't really know what you're getting with maybe some other guys off the bench. But in the event they don't do that because he, again, is the second highest rated player in ACC play analytically, I think you have to – I think you're right. I think it would probably have to be Tyler Johnson coming off the bench. So your starting lineup would look like Ben Hammond, Bedford, Neo, Lawal, Hansberry. And then your second unit is Johnson, Shoot, and Gerdak coming in, right? So that's your kind of your 8 that I think we'll see for the last 8 games of the year.
Yeah, that's your 8 for sure.
That's your 8 that you're going to roll with for the rest of the year, and that gives you, for my money, one of your best players, period, in Johnson coming off the bench with your best shooter and your only real natural 5 also coming off the bench. It's
well, what about Neo coming off the bench? Because that's going to be talked about.
So that goes one of two ways, right? Like that either is the swift kick in the rear that gets him going in the right direction, or it's worse. And I can't answer that because I don't know the kid.
Because you could start Hammond, Bedford, Johnson, Hansberry, Gerdak, and that could be fun.
Yeah, and I like that a lot because then your second unit and the way you could stagger your minutes in the rest of the game is your best shooter, your best athlete, and your best passer.
Yeah.
And shoot Neo and Lawal. So I think from the way you just stagger rotations throughout the game and how it could flow, I like that. But again, I don't know Neo personally. So I don't know enough about his headspace and where he's at to know would coming off the bench be viewed as a load off that he could play free and fast and do his thing, or would it just be another brutal hit to the ego? I just don't know. I don't know. And I do like what it could do from a lineup perspective, but I just don't know.
I think it would be fun at some point because regardless of whether Ben Hammond stays a starter or not, he's got to basically play the most minutes of anybody.
Yeah.
Because he's essentially our best player in ACC play right now. So if you were to pair Ben Hammond, at some point I'd like to see like an all shooters lineup where you have Hammond, you have Bedford, you have Shoot, you have Johnson, and then you go Hansberry at the 5. Like that could, like, in terms of opening things up for Ben Hammond to work and also dish, like that shooters lineup once Johnson comes back could be really fun as well. And then you'd have Hansberry back in the role as a small ball 5 who can also shoot a little bit, as we've seen. So that's something I was thinking about as well. And the beauty of it is Mike Young can figure this out. He can figure out the rotations better than me and you, but it is fun to talk about.
It's going to be really interesting. Like the dynamic of Hammond and Neo as like your only real primary ball handlers is an interesting one. And in the example you just said, where maybe Hammond comes off the bench, but he still plays the most minutes. At least by doing that, say you get to under 17 minutes, first 3 minutes goes by, and you want Ben Hammond on the floor. So you take Bedford out, put Hammond in. Well, then from just like a staggering the rest of the half perspective, then, Neo and Ben can play together till, call it the under 13. Mm-hmm. And then you take Neo out for whoever, and then you still have a primary ball handler on the floor. But if you start them both and try to rotate them in and out like that, you're going to get to a place where Ben Hammond's just never going to leave the floor. And you don't I mean, Coach Young said it in a post game recently. He doesn't want to be playing Ben that many minutes, but you can't take him off the floor right now. And I think they have to find a way to get him off the floor, or you will run into a situation where all of a sudden you might look up and his legs might be a little tired.
And if you had to, you could run offense through Bedford or through Johnson. If you in a pinch, you could do that. But you're not going to want to rely on that for any significant amount of minutes.
We've seen it with Bedford. I don't know that I want to see it with Johnson.
Yeah. And we haven't seen Johnson, period, in a while.
Yeah, we haven't seen Johnson since.
But he moves the ball well. That's the only reason I said it. Like he just does everything like pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great to have him back, especially when you consider, and let me get this off the screen, when you consider like the foul trouble we've been in at times with the bigs, like just having Johnson out there to defend and absorb some of these fouls. So it's not Gerdak and it's not Hansberry and it's not Lawal will be so beneficial to us.
Oh my God, dude. This is worse than I thought it was. 1, 2, 3, 4. The last 4 games, Ben Hammond has played 37, 36, 37, and 40 minutes. He played 40 minutes against Duke.
He's playing maxi minutes.
That's not sustainable, man. That's not sustainable. I don't care who you are. They got to find a way to get him a breath here or there. And I'm sure that's something that they've talked about this week. Let's
talk about NC State. And before we kind of get the lay of the land on them, let me tell you where we are at. We are at 61 in the Ken Palm as of today, 56th in the net, and we are an 11 seed in bracket matrix, just inside the bracket according to Field of 68. It was Cal, Miami, us, and I think Texas was the last 4 in according to Field of 68 last night. So we're 7-6 against Q1 and Q2, and that's really doing us a lot of favors right now. We have one of the better win totals versus Q1 and Q2 of any of the teams on the bubble. Notre Dame, our win over them is sitting just outside Q2 at 85. Stanford is at 77. They need to be 75 to move up into the areas we need them, although that is a loss. But blah, 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 blah. We're okay, but we need to steal some road wins, Ed, if we're going to make the field. We have no option.
We got work to do. I think overall at the end of the year, it will look up and it'll be a pretty soft bubble compared to years prior. But that being said, we still have work to do. We got to get to at least 20 wins, and that involves stealing one road one. 21, you'd feel really good about yourself. But if you go 4-4 the rest of the way and you get to 20 wins and 9-9 in the league, I would be pretty surprised if we're not in the tournament at that point. But 21 is where you want to be to feel really good about yourself. And when you look at what we have the rest of the way, it starts with NC State on Saturday, and then you go to Clemson midweek. Those are 2 NCAA tournament teams. No 2 ways about it. Those are 2 top 25 teams. And NC State, they came out of the gates a little sluggish compared to expectation, but they've won their last 4, including a win at Clemson. They just hung 96 on Wake the other night. In Wake's building. They scored 88 against Cuse the game before that. They're scoring in bunches right now. They're actually about to tip off as we speak against SMU. I'll probably go watch that.
It's a big game.
Yeah, I'll probably go watch that before I go to bed and just see what there is to see. But look, Will Wade got to Raleigh. They opened the coffers for him. He had whatever he wanted in terms of cash, and he went out and signed some really good players. And it seems like they're coming together as a team right now. Which, of course, unfortunate time.
They've been playing a little bit better. Yeah.
They've been playing a lot better. I mean, they lost a clunker to Georgia Tech, and since then they've looked a lot better. So
they have 4 guys averaging about 14 points per game. 4 different guys. I think the lowest was 13.5 and the highest is like 14.5, but right in that range. So they have, on any given night, it could be one of 4 guys. They're 23rd in the Ken Palm. So a top 25 team by the advanced metrics. 6'6" point guard, Copeland. This guy's averaging 6.5 assists per game, better than a 2-to-1 ratio, assists to turnovers. And then Lubin, the 6'9" forward. This guy's a really good rebounder. He is on his 4th power school in 4 years. He was on UNC last year, and now he's on NC State. Like
Notre Dame before that.
Yeah, Notre Dame also was another school. Was Arizona? Was it? Might have been Arizona. I can't remember the other
We
one. But yeah,
recruited him out of high school.
Lubin.
I think we might have recruited him out of the portal once too. Yeah, good player. The one thing to note with them is they're not big. Like Ben Allen Lubin's basically their center, and he's 6'9".
Yeah.
We have a point guard who's 6'9". So from that perspective, we will have an advantage in terms of size. What they do have is a lot of positional versatility and length. Like they're not tall on the top end, but their bottom end is not short.
I
Like
mean,
Copeland is a
exactly.
point guard at 6'6". He's a 6'6" point guard. Williams is 6'6". So they're kind of like Duke
Williams
in the
and
sense they
McNeil.
can switch everything. Yeah, McNeil.
Those are the two wings that like they're both draftable. Like probably second round, maybe late first, but they're draftable. Probably second round, but both 6'5" ish, maybe 6'6" top end. And then you have Copeland also, who you just said is 6'6". So like nobody's small. I mean, they do have one small guy, like 6'1", 6'2", but like yes, the versatility that they have that you said is important. It's more about their offensively though, because neither one of those wings I just mentioned, McNeely, they're not like great defenders. They're like fine. This is just a very, very good offensive team. I'm not saying their defense is terrible, but they shoot the three so well. They're seventh in the country in 3-point shooting percentage. Seventh.
Yeah, it's a strength on strength game because we're really good against the three defensively,
yes,
and they are really good at the three. Like you just mentioned, that was going to be my next point. Williams, Copeland, McNeil, and Trey Holloman are all shooting over 40% from three.
That's Holloman was the shorter one.
Yes, and they're all playing more than 24 minutes or more per game. So, they're very, very much in the rotation and starters for them, and they're all shooting over 40% from three. I think Virginia Tech's going to have to do a really good job defending the three, and they're going to have to find a way to unlock Amani Hansberry and Toby Lawal in this game and put a lot of pressure early and often on Ben Allen Lubin. If you can get him into some foul trouble and put him in some tough situations, like I said at the top, they're not big. So winning this game on the inside and the interior, I honestly think it could be a really big Neo game, getting downhill into the rim. He's going to be bigger than whoever's guarding him. And when you go back and look at where he has had success in ACC play, it has been in getting to the rim and finishing around the rim, and like it was against Duke, getting fouled. So I think Virginia Tech's going to have to attack the interior on these guys and then just do a really good job defending the three. Otherwise, they're going to end up hanging 96 on them, just like they did to Wake.
That's what I want from Neo. We said it last show. Like, I want him to attack. I want him to go to the rim. He's got the body control to do it. He's got the size to do it. And when he wants to be aggressive, he can be very aggressive. So I agree, Ed. Go to the rim, get them in foul trouble, get their bigs in foul trouble, and defend the three, because we are 21st in 3-point percentage defense. They're 7th in 3-point percentage offense. So it is a strength on strength. We will have our chances to slow them down. Now, they're in their home gym, so a little bit of an advantage there for that. But offenses have bad nights, and especially with the defense that we've been playing on the perimeter, we could make them have a bad nooner, and we could keep it competitive. Because if you ask me, you look at what we have left on the road, this is the most winnable road game we have left, in my opinion. Do you think this is more winnable, or Clemson, or Miami?
I'd say Miami. Miami's reeling a little bit right now.
Yeah.
They've found themselves all of a sudden from a very much NCAA tournament team to creeping down towards last four buys all of a sudden. So they're having a little bit of a hard time right now. But again, we don't play them for a couple weeks. Who knows who they are by then?
Down in my
yeah.
Sorry, I lost you there for a second, Ed.
No, it's okay.
We have struggled in Miami over the years. Like, it's been a hard place for us to win. And so we have won a few more times than NC State. That's kind of why I said, like, to me, it's the most, like, we've also won at Clemson on occasion. So, like, that's a winnable. Like, they're all hard. They're all going to be tough games. But you might be right. It could be Miami. But I like our chances this weekend.
Truth be told, at NC State, at Clemson, at Miami, at Carolina, at Virginia, they're all probably very equally likely. Like they're all hard. Like those are all at the moment NCAA tournament teams, and we have them all on the road. Like we said it in our season preview, man. Like the schedulers did us no favors this year. This closing 8 with 5 being on the road against 5 NCAA tournament teams is crazy. But hey, if you want to get in the tournament, you got to beat tournament teams. So let's step up to the plate and knock a couple of these down. I do think NC State's a really good opportunity. I just think matchup wise with their lack of height and how when we are playing really good ball, it's through the wall and Hansberry and Gerdak. And I do think that that's going to open up some things opportunity wise for us on the inside. Similar with Clemson, though. I mean, they're not a great offense, but they're a really good defense. So it's going to be interesting, and they're all gettable. And if Virginia Tech is playing up to the level of this roster, what it can be, which again, still haven't seen it fully together since pre-Thanksgiving. If they're able to find their stride quickly with their top 8 guys, Virginia Tech can beat anybody left on the schedule.
With our struggles on the offensive end, that's why I like the matchup against NC State. I would rather play a better offensive team with our current Virginia Tech roster than a better defensive team in Clemson. Yeah. So that's why I like the matchup this weekend against NC State. As for other bubble talk, there's a lot of games tonight that are involving bubble teams. You mentioned NC State and SMU, but UCLA, I believe, is playing tonight. We're rooting against teams like New Mexico that's on the bubble, Ohio State, Cal in our own conference. We're rooting against Cal. Texas, I think they won last weekend, but Texas, Indiana, Miami, we're rooting against all these teams, even San Diego State, Santa Clara, Seton Hall, Mizzou. We hate all these teams. We want them all to lose. It's not a particularly strong bubble, but you still got to beat out 8 of these teams I just mentioned, so keep that in mind as you're kind of watching games going forward here, that there are some teams, and a good resource is bracketmatrix.com. They will show you like where we're stacking up and who the other at-larges are. And right now we are barely in that 11 seed, which probably means we'd have to play in Dayton. But I would take Dayton over being left out. But in a perfect world, we can get a road win, get the 3 home wins, and we make the tournament at 20 wins. Like that means we only have to win one of those really 5 hard road games, really hard 5 road games that are left. We only have to win one of them if we take care of our 3 games at home. Now that's still going to leave some leeway. If the win on the road is not good enough, if it's like if you beat UNC on the road, you're golden. But if you beat one of the weaker teams on the road, then it may be not as much.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you look at the net. I mean, Carolina's 25th, NC State's 26th.
Okay.
Clemson's 31st. So they're all kind of
pretty close. Okay.
Yeah, they're all kind of right there.
And UVA is top 20, right?
UVA is 18th right now. And what you did mention earlier, and I want to double back on this because it is really important, is our Q2 record. Our Q2 record is much better than most of the bubble teams that Pete just brought up. And that's going to be really important because as important as having a couple of Q1 wins is, here you go. They look at it a lot of the times the way the field of 68 is looking at it right here, with having us as a last 4 in team. They look at Q1 and 2 combined a lot. And they want you to have 1 or 2, feathers in your cap from that first quadrant. But just as important as that is your Q1 and Q2 record, which right now Virginia Tech is 7-6, which, looking at whoever, Cal, Miami, and Texas here up against us, it's better than all of them. Miami, the only other one over 500 in Q1 and Q2 combined. So that's important moving forward. Now, how those games flow up and down, the various quadrants, we'll see. Like Syracuse is hanging on by a thread as a Q1 win for the Hokies. Cheer for Syracuse the rest of the year because we want that to stay a Q1. But we do have another Q2
how
game.
They came back against UNC and saved some of the metrics for us a little bit last night.
They did. But I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Q1 games left, Q2, 2 Q3s, and we do have one more Q2 win or potential win against Wake Forest at home. That game could be truthfully just as important as any of these Q1s. If you add another Q2 win to the column, it's a big deal.
Yeah, the problem is if we beat Wake, they're probably dropping out of Q2.
I know.
They're 11-11 right now.
They are. They're 73rd. So that might not even be a Q2 game by the time it gets
really
to us.
Screwed them and screwed us by association. But you don't know these other teams. Like the moving up and moving down, hopefully it will balance itself out. But 7-6, as we pointed out in that graphic, it is very good against Q1 and Q2. And we have several more Q1 opportunities left here. And so we need to get one of them. We have to absolutely get one more Q1 win. And then you got to win all your home games.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot lose one of the home games.
Yeah, if you win another Q1 game, one of the road games, and you beat Wake, and that stays in the second quadrant, that would give you 9 in this scenario of those Q1, Q2s. That's a lot of good wins, and that will stack up well against the rest of the competition. Who knows? Maybe Notre Dame goes on a run here and they jump up into Q2 for us. Because you're right. I mean, Wake might end up being a Q3 game by the time it gets to us. Who knows what happens with Syracuse as the season goes on? Does Stanford play well and jump back into the second quadrant for us? Because as of right now, that's actually a Q3 loss, which is not ideal. So how that all ebbs and flows, we'll see the rest of the way. But for my money, if you get to 20 wins and you're 9-9 in the league and don't get in, I'd be pretty surprised. So, take care of business at home and steal one on the road, man. We got to be road warriors the rest of the way.
The interesting thing on the Stanford loss is that it's Q3, so it's not in that Q1-2 graphic. If you put that in, then we're 7-7, Ed. So is it actually good for it to move up? Like, who knows how they're going to look at the Q3 versus the Q. As of right now, everywhere says we're in by the skin of our teeth. We need 4 more wins at minimum to be sitting with an okay feeling on Selection Sunday.
Yep.
Win this weekend, and you are like in a much better position if you can beat NC State this weekend.
Yeah, totally. I don't have anything more to add to that. It's just road warriors the rest of the way.
Our Roback code is HOOPS20 if you want 20% off your first order from Roback. I know a lot of our listeners have probably already ordered from Roback over the years. So have I. But you know what I do have? Several more emails because you accumulate them and you have a significant other. Maybe you have someone else that can order it for you. Use a different email. Get the 20% again. Use code HOOPS20. I've got this thing on right now, Ed, the Q-Zip. This is like the blue and green, like houndstooth. This thing is amazing.
I have the VT hoodie.
Oh, nice. Oh,
this is like the heavier weight hoodie. This thing's money. The
black with the TV logo in the middle. That's very fresh. Yeah. Use code HOOPS20 to get 20% off your first order from Roback. Crave activity. The ladies, Ed, are 18-5. We've kind of been saving the ladies for last in all these episodes. One of these days, we're going to have to do them first because they are kicking butt. 8-3 in conference. They've won 7 in a row. Did you catch any of the UVA game?
I watched the whole thing. That was an awesome game. Yeah, I mean, just a lot of good things to say about what they're doing right now. It's an interesting style that they're playing because they're not very big, and I'm waiting for that to bite them, but it hasn't because the guard play has been so good. I mean, I'm sure this is by design because it keeps happening too frequently for it to not be. But man, they put a lot of pressure on the rim. Carly Wenzel, Mackenzie Nelson, Tamaya Suffren, they're all just downhill in a hurry, and it puts a lot of pressure on the opposing team. Mackenzie Nelson's fantastic basketball player. She does everything, assisting, getting to the rim, making free throws, taking charges. She takes so many charges, plays amazing defense. Carly Wenzel is more of a known commodity to, I think, Virginia Tech fans as well as Karis Baker. But this is a really fun team, and they've ripped off, 7 in a row now, 8 in a row?
7.
Yeah, and now they go up to South Bend to play Notre Dame, who, shockingly to me, as I haven't been paying enough attention, is not ranked because I feel like I'm just used to them being like a top 5
They're
team.
not as good this year. Not quite as good.
But they are in the field in a lot of brackets right now, and they've got a tough stretch, and we talked about it last week. But Notre Dame, NC State, Stanford, Cal, Carolina, and then they close at Virginia. They have a lot of good opportunities to get some more good wins and find themselves back in the NCAA tournament for the women's program and Megan Duffy's first time around for the Hokies. That'd be really cool, man.
Similar to the men, a lot of away games, a lot of away games. Similar record, but like the finish. Notre Dame might not be having a great season. It's still a talented team, and that's a hard place to win. It's like at least it is when we play the men. Like it is a difficult place to win a basketball game. So we'll see about the trip to Notre Dame rather, and then they play NC State, which is at home. It's in the Cassell, and it's been one of those like more fiery matchups between our girls and the opposing girls over the years. Like, do you remember the Liz
Mhm.
finish at the end? Like they always gave us problems. They've been a really good program. And so the NC State game at home is a big one. And then they have the West Coast trip to Stanford and Cal back to back. So we'll see how they do there. Neither of those teams are like that good. I think we should be able to. I mean, Stanford has a better history, but I don't think this year either one of them is particularly good.
Yeah, they should probably, I mean, at least go out there and split.
You would hope.
Hannah Hidalgo is still at Notre Dame. She still averages 25 a game. That's
Oh
crazy.
my God.
You mentioned the NC State thing, and this is the last thing I'll have, but I feel like NC State and Virginia Tech in women's basketball and wrestling have like a super heated rivalry.
Yes, you are correct. They do. And we got the wrestling win the other night too.
We
so
did.
That's hopefully the ladies can take care of it next weekend, but like, or it might be in the middle of the week next week, but we got Notre Dame, then NC State, and then Stanford and Cal are both 4-6 in ACC play for the women.
Nice.
So you got to go to the West Coast. Hopefully you can get a split. If you can get a split, you're going to be in line for double-digit ACC wins.
I mean, they already are. They're already at 8 and
they're at 8.
Yeah, they're already at 18 wins on the year with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to go. So 21, 22, 23 wins in the cards maybe for the girls.
Unlike the men, like last year, the men were down in ACC. This year, the ladies, the conference is not as good as it's been in the past this year. There's only a couple ranked teams. Last year, with the years when we had Georgia and Liz, like the ACC was unbelievable.
Ridiculous.
So a little bit of a down year for the ladies. So the schedule maybe not as tough so far, but I don't care what year it is. 7 ACC wins in a row is unbelievable. Congrats to the girls. Carly Wenzel shot 20 free throws last game against UVA. She was getting downhill.
Yeah, she was. She was just putting her head down and going hard to the rim and getting fouled and making them pay for it.
All right, that's going to do it for the show. Make sure you're subscribed. Sons of Saturday on YouTube and the Sons of Saturday podcast feed on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Use that code HOOPS20 and send an email over to insurance@sonsofsaturday.com for any State Farm inquiries. Until next time, Ed, when I hope we're celebrating a big road win over NC State. Go Hokies.